Fabian Zuleeg from the European Policy Centre. Fabian, I need also to actually bring in an umbrella because it is starting to rain here. Let's hope that we still have some kind of an agreement despite the bad weather. Are you expecting more details?
I think there will be a little bit more detail, but not very much. I think the focus is very much on the stress tests next week, and we will have to wait really to see the results of that.
What will determine the success of these stress tests? Whether we have a plan B if some of these banks don't manage to confirm to all the details that they need to?
Yeah, certainly. I think we need to see something which spells out what would happen for those banks which fail the stress test, and it's likely that there will be at least a small number of banks which will be in trouble.
What are you hoping to have today? If you say we don't have any details coming up, we certainly need to at least understand what the stress tests are, because every day that they don't give us details, the markets are taking it as bad news.
Yeah, I think we need a bit more detail on how the stress tests are going to work. And I think also ministers need to commit to helping those banks which are in trouble. I think a clear signal that there's support available would help the markets.
Fabian, are you concerned that actually there's so much concern about how a lot of these haircuts will be calculated on sovereign bonds coming from Greece and Spain? Bloomberg find out it's probably looking at something like 17% for Greece and 3% of a haircut for Spain. Is that concern?
I don't think so. I mean, I think as long as it is seen as being decisive, i.e. that there is a significant haircut, particularly for Greece, I think markets are probably going to calm down, but we need to see the exact detail. A lot of it is unclear at this stage.
Fabian, we also are hearing from the Unicredit CEO, Mr. Alessandro Profumo, that he wants some kind of fund where actually it's cross-border banks that put the money themselves in. Is this counterproductive?
I think it's very difficult to work, especially in a very short time. I think we also need to see that some of the banks which will be in trouble are in essence state banks, the Landesbanken in Germany, for example. And there I would expect that we very much have a national focus, i.e. that the German government will be the main one to step in to help if necessary.
But in terms of what? So some kind of funding? Do the funds have to come from governments, or does it have to come from the European Union? Do we even care where it comes from?
I think, in essence, it will be down to governments to help their own banks. I don't see a significant amount of funds being made available at the European level, especially not if we have state-owned banks which are in trouble.
Fabian, the other things discussed here today is how to punish some of the governments that don't understand the budget deficit or that don't adhere to the rules. Banks' levies. Are you hoping anything concrete on that, or will it really take, the second stage after we know from the banks?
I think it will take a second stage. I mean, I think the stress tests are really the focus of these 2 days. But I think in the long term, we will have to look at how we can improve economic governance in the Eurozone, particularly for those governments which have been breaking the rules for a long time.
Was it a mistake to put these stress tests for banks? Because some say actually they're counterproductive because they're stressing out the banks and the markets.
There was a lot of expectation that the European Union would move in this area after the US had published stress tests for banks. So in that sense, politically, it was very difficult not to do it. But I think in the end, there is a bit of trouble now, but I would expect that after next week, things calm down again.
Fabian, thank you so much. And of course, we'll be here throughout the